that's cool. Look at that. To Francis Scott Key. Chancellor of the National Sons Okay, excuse me. Let's see, what could that word be? A-U-T-I author, A-U-T-H-O-R. Author to Francis Scott Key, author of the national song, The Star-Spangled Banner. This monument is erected by James Lick of San Francisco, California. Awesome. AD MDCCCLXXXVI. That's 1,000. 818 87, I want to guess, 1887. That's freaking awesome. Never knew this was here. That's cool. That's him. I don't know if you can see. Let's see if we can bring up some view of the. Area of the park where there's also a museum. The Young Museum over here. This sort of twisty curve shape that when you see it from UCSF and you see the Golden Bridge and you see it, it kind of like, has some sort of seeming like I guess, some sort of seeming interaction almost like, how is it even like, stand in such a trippy form. Very cool architecture, very awesome actually. Definitely some like modern, like, as they say, architecture that an aesthetic of as much non-symmetrical information as possible, I suppose. Something along those lines. And over there, I forget what that museum's called, but it's very cool. It has like nature-y stuff going on in it, that sort of thing. It's a little tree. Excuse me, pardon. That's cool. I thought they were blinking, and I was like, "Oh, it's a phase cycle changing set of lights," but instead, I think I was walking. Yeah, when moving, they're like going across like a ladder steps, and they look like they're blinking. That's cool. Oh, my face. I was like, what is this thing floating in front of me that's like giant, like, giant or something? That's hilarious. It's like I've tried to determine what it is that I'm not seeing that is in front of me as I'm walking forward, that I'm only seeing in the screen, and it it's kind of a funny thing, actually. I like that. It's funny. And another congratulatory honorary thanks to Motorola, the has the innate ability to record consistent anti-computer system in a way that never ceases to amaze. And if there's any sort of engineering details that are like, you know, high-tech camera defeating I guess camera defeating, debasing, or you know what I mean, technologies that are if there are any technologies that are built into the camera that are the type that prevent the camera from being defeated or you know, discombobulated or you know, whatever, because there are such techniques and types of hardware. I don't know if you notice in any of my streams, you'll see at some points when I get my lens to focus, you see someone shining standing there with like a light in their hand or some sort of beam thing, shining it like at me or pointing it at me, assuming that they will be you know, in only a blur of any sort of camera like footage, and then not so much as it's also certain sorts of techniques that can allow you to refocus your lens when your lens is unable to focus, such as pointing it in a different direction, focusing it, zooming out a little bit, focusing it, zooming back in, shining, like covering the lens and then removing, like this sort of thing, so that the, you know, or going like this too, like something moving away from the lens seems to help it focus. If there are any cool technologies like that you know, prevent, like, you know, a light being shined in the camera from making the camera inoperable or whatever, that's cool, and that you know, kudos to them, and also kudos to Apple, whose awesome device, the what is it, 6S, was what I did a lot of like an analysis and light adjusting work. Really cool, powerful, interesting, like awesome, like just like amazing ability to have like a computer's worth of processing power, like in the hand. It's, you know, it's a little bit kind of awkward and maybe difficult to contemplate doing a lot of work in such with, you know, a small scale, like, you know, aspect or whatever, but it's actually really, you know, it makes up for it in, like, you know, vibrancy of the screen and that sort of thing. And the camera on those phones is you know, half of some of the videos, the ones that are kind of super vibrant and super clear, are, you know, of the camera on that phone that is currently lost. I don't know if I'll ever be seeing it again, but it's definitely, you know, worth note that they also have some great camera features, and yeah, it's pretty crazy, you know. I granted, it's hard to, you know, weigh one reality against the hypothetical non-occurring one. But I definitely feel like live streaming, for one, is the pinnacle of portable safety measures. There's nothing that can really make me feel any more capable, at least, of making a attempt to defend against any sort of threat via the conspicuous camcording and there is the weighty risk of the situation that happened yesterday, where I'm with a friend. We go and my phone's indisposed, and we go to reset the settings on his, and in that 1 or 2 minute period, it's like an incident arose that was a confrontational intimidation sort of scenario that was just being somehow deferred until, or deterred until, the onset of a reasonable expectation that whatever cameras I had would be inoperable, down to a scary sort of abruptness. It was all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was just some sort of senseless, needless, unforeseeable sort of troubly sort of thing. And I realized that it was directly correlated to the reality that was the very 2 minutes that there was going to be no available camera. It is poignant to note because it illustrates both the principle that if someone's trying to be maliciously intended, they're trying to do so not on camera. And it also goes to kind of be a reminder that that technique of camera, what was the word I used? Camera dysfunctioning or whatever is is a resort that'll be gone to in the scenario where the focus magic light beam or whatever doesn't seem to have doesn't have a sure enough effect to disable a camera, and or whatever other sort of things there may be, and I'm not sure what the those are, if they exist, internal hacking, sort of a over the air disruption of the computing that causes your phone app to crash. At some length, it's illustrative of how integral to this sort of maliciously intended type of person, or whatever their deal is, or role, or existence, or whatever it is. It's illustrative of how crucial the whole de-functioning of a camera for the purpose of whatever it is that their overall purpose is, if they even know, and and is something I'm stating to remind that it's you know worth noting and worth keeping in mind and remembering that you want to have a backup camera available to you, and or have a basically that's, I mean, if one is effective and then it's not working, it's hard to think of any other sort of substitute in the sense of what will have an effect of personal safety, and there's an inherent risk too that it may be something that isn't concerning the person, but in some regards that situation can happen at any point to anyone in anywhere at any time if someone's like somehow entirely just like transfixed or out of not transfixed really, but it's just like deranged or something like that, and in some sort of like violent frenzy. It's like any sort of attempt for personal security is going to be, or personal safety or whatever, is going to be not something that's concerning them, and it as an active defense mechanism is not quite defensive really. It's not a like piece of artillery or something, or it's not a in any sort of way designed to be other than a basically a communication and art sort of device. That's the way that we would prefer and enjoy it. So it's worth noting that not all scenarios or situations are processing through a person's mind the same as you would want or expect or imagine would be like likely, like it's something I didn't really have any sort of plan to know about or whatever, but I get the sense that I get the sense that the reality that the camera is filming is like just like entirely catenizing to the sort of nearby lurking, like approaching, actually like exploring the potential vulnerability or something of a sort of target or whoever it is that is like the unfortunate sort of person on the victim side of any sort of exchange that may or may not occur to reach like physical confrontation, but even still, it's worth noting that threatening advances in a person's time of vulnerability is definitely a form of a crime. That's in no way legal or a person's you know, guaranteed civil right of, a existence free of, you know, unnecessary harassment and things like that. But yeah, both camera manufacturers have some awesome sort of cameras in their phones, and it's some of the capabilities of them. Like this camera is specifically super efficient and super lightweight when the phone is operating in a certain sort of mode. I think maybe it's safe mode, or if it just happens to like have the camera app launched from like the front screen, or there's like the right app running, like Google, like, or something, or isn't, or I don't know, but for some reason sometimes it'll have an ability to be pretty highly efficient. It survives. They can survive. Then the whole units happen to be able to survive a little bit more physical sort of like duress or impact sort of than they used to. Cameras in general. It's always smart to consider turning off the effect of touch anywhere on the screen to take a picture, because when that translates into the video side of your camera, it usually translates into touch anywhere on your screen, and then it stops recording, which isn't always the goal. There's a settings function in Apple phones called Guided Access. If you enable it, you can utilize a triple click on the home button to start Guided Access, which kind of pretty much keeps the user of the phone within whatever program they're using. So you could feasibly put a training program on your phone and put it on Guided Access and use it to train an employee and know that he wouldn't be able to be getting into other parts of the phone. And you unlock it with a triple click and a passcode. It allows you to draw areas of the screen that won't be activatable during usage. So you can draw a box around the record button and near the top where there's other buttons or whatever, and then you can still focus and zoom with the center of your screen, but you have the assurance that your phone, an Apple phone with Guided Access running, pretty much won't stop recording until it's either Guided Access is ended and recording is stopped, or the phone is turned off, or the phone is out of batteries. I think the phone is even unable to be turned off when Guided Access is running, because the buttons are disabled, except for the home button to enable or disable Guided Access. It's definitely a cool app, and also, just so Apple phone users know, your phone has a built-in screen recorder. If you swipe up from the bottom, you get the control panel, and the one that looks like it. If it's not there, you have to enable it in the settings of the control panel settings in the I think general and accessibilities menu, or just even in the main menu. It looks like it's just a circle. It just looks like a little recording dot. When you press that, then anything on your screen is then recorded, and it can be helpful for all sorts of taking clips of what software or whatever you need to, if you need to upload it or make a tutorial. If you hold on that start recording button, it gives you the option to turn on the microphone too while recording that, so you can give a vocal tutorial along with whatever is your screenplay or screen content, I should say. And also, interestingly, when in that mode, when you load the camera app, it then is on the screen in its sort of preview camera, viewfinder, so to say, and that all is then therefore recorded on the screen capture. Just useful sort of things to know. There's other cool things in the control panel. You can utilize a flashlight, utilize an app called Magnifier, which is a super optical zoom thing for for using your phone as if it was like a telescope, basically. There's like the volume control, the brightness control, stuff like that. Definitely, control panel is very cool. It's like you can access it sometimes when your phone, you can't access other aspects of your phone, or it's like it's in a more locked in base sort of in architectural level of the fundamental operating parts of the operating system in such a way that it's useful, and it's a sort of power sort of control, like it's it seems like it's just more graphics on the screen that are just buttons and whatever, but the way that the computer architecture works, it's like also like a subset of like the processor architecture that enables that to occur, and is useful to have with all of the options that that you're able to select in your settings enabled. It's it just is it's like one of those things. Like, I don't know if most Android users know that like notifications like section of the phone is like that as well. It's like certain apps that, like, if you have a screen recorder app on an Android phone, which is the equivalent of what comes already naturally or stock on your Apple phone, but you use like something like DU Recorder or one of those, they'll utilize the notifications bar to be the play and the stop and the start buttons, because what's going on your screen is like that is a little bit less affected by processing mishap or glitch or incompatibilities, and is like the station where it would is most usefully accessible, because if your screen and whatever else is lagging, you can pull down your notifications bar and it's like going to be not lagging, because it also has that same sort of process sort of separateness, or whatever it is. I'm not super computer science like engineer guy. I just know a little bit about the way that the things work in those levels, and they amaze me, and that's why I like to kind of observe and see what I might have to say about useful information about those sort of things, because it's not useful information really to know that certain aspects of whatever operating architecture are higher or lower in the hierarchy of complexity and whatever, but it is useful to know that you can turn on your flashlight from your control panel, and that you have a guided access thing, which is selectable by turning on a button on by turning on an option in the control panel, or in the settings, and yeah, that's been the last hour and 8 minutes. Been a good time. Sun is like now not out, but up and behind the clouds, giving awesome photographic ambient light. And people are going about pursuing their daily endeavors and such, with an ever-increasing amount as the afternoon approaches and the morning gets going here. But yeah, I definitely think I have to go back and mention this, that the ability of camera phones to, and the integration of this technology and like the the big what would you call it, the prominent social news network media um operations and their phone apps is entirely just fantastic. It's got to be a highly difficult thing to accomplish as far as technical undertaking goes. The fact that they are able to accomplish it and then integrate it in a way that necessitates as little overcomplication as necessary is really cool. As well, it's it's just like the most useful thing I can think of that a smartphone can do, that like is at all pertaining to camera function at all. I mean, it takes certain sort of effort to always have enough disk space to store larger, longer clips, and the desire to utilize the high resolution camera in one app, but also use that same app for some sort of lower resolution streaming or like web content that you plan to take a 1 hour clip of or something, isn't always set up to have the functionality of easily switching between the two video modes. So then those being specific streaming apps has that sort of benefit too, to the whole dynamic of camera phones. It's available, I believe, on a couple. It's actually like a lot of recording apps are seeming to have some sort of platform to enable their users to utilize that same the concept of utilize the technology of live streaming. I know DU Recorder, I just noticed when I had it loaded, had that functionality as an option. I know Facebook does. That was the first place I had heard of or seen live recording on a smartphone, and I was like, I had to do a double take it, like a couple weeks after I realized that it was offering to go live, and Facebook definitely advertised their Facebook live thing for a good reason too, for sure. Like, that's an important fucking cool functionality. When I thought about it at one point where I was like, oh, I need like some way, how can I can't like keep manually uploading these small clips, and it makes it infeasible. And then I was like, oh yeah, there's a streaming option in something. I'm now used to the way that it works, at least on the YouTube app, as far as like the formalities, and it's pretty streamlined, and it's pretty awesome. It has the functionality of resuming a clip that you haven't ended when you next get back onto the internet access, and that's highly cool. That's just really convenient, because it is somewhat, and I don't mean this to be in a sort of criticism, but it is it is very convenient when you resume a live stream just the next time you're on the internet, compared to the slight inconvenience of having to type in a title for it, let a snapshot be taken, acknowledge that you go, or you're going live, and acknowledge that you're ready to go live in whatever orientation or whatever. You have to do a couple button presses, and it all goes pretty smoothly and pretty quickly. And it's definitely sort of a necessary thing. It's not like logical for there to be some sort of just like single button press, like instant live, like, content or footage. That would just be like a lot of, it's just, it makes sense, definitely. The continuation of a stream is definitely a cool functionality, and I noticed that the streams that I was streaming were posting online, and that was like a great thing to notice, and so I now utilize streaming, and in fact, I now get much pleasure out of utilizing streaming. It's a a progress vectoring thing for the types of things that I'm trying to do or working on, or what I'm into as far as performance comedy and comedy art and vocalization, metaphors, and awkwardly contained idea phrases, or whatever, and music and art. It's definitely facilitative of like just generally like streaming is definitely helping me pursue streaming for sure. It's like, because underneath all of those things is we're constantly streaming. Oh man, that's funny. We're a species and a being. We're beings of streaming sort of nature. It's like when we're doing whatever we're doing, we're like making a potentially watchable stream. Streaming, the internet's like limited metaphor usage word of the times. But yeah, it's a cool thing. I'm gonna eat this orange now. Been holding it, dreaming of partaking. Have a good morning. Excuse me, pardon. Excuse me, pardon. Wow, look at this little bit. Like 2 houses or whatever. That's really cool. Jeez, look at those gorgeous like staircase front of the house things. House foundation, like, wow. And that's just the greatest part. The freaking, oh wow, that's so cool. Splendid. This is like ancient too. Freaking totally classic. Well, those are pretty cool. Pretty awesome. Like standalone fortress sort of design. Kid in the window. Hi, how's it going? Hello. That's awesome. It's not as gloomy out here as it looks. It's kind of, you know. Sorry, I'm chuckling. My need to visit the sandal repair person. Excuse me, sorry. I enjoy an organic approach to my hair modeling, grooming, whatever it's called. It works out pretty good. At least for the effect of how I enjoy my hair, I suppose. Anyways, interesting topic, huh? Alright. Interesting how I guess the design or the shape, or I guess the dissimilarities between the mirror images of either of our like shoe, accoutrements or effects or whatever that we're wearing when we're walking. The dissimilarities between them, if they're not exactly the same, will necessitate, will kind of, I guess, more or less make us inclined to create a sort of gait that balances those two in some way or extent to some degree. Like I could be like walking but because I could be walking entirely symmetrically mirrored with either foot, but I'm currently not, because one of the straps is loose or something like that, and so it's causing this whole odd side complex of my foot being taking it takes a stroke to keep the sandal balanced on the foot the right way or something, and so then it has a weird sounding flop because the sandal's got a different position, and it makes me sound like I have a weird gait or a weird limp, but it's entirely kind of it's like a tolerated facetious sort of limp that's occurring because of like sandal dissymmetry, and it's not at all what my actual limp is. It's just it's funny though, because it's like kind of it's like a reaction or an impulse to induce a sort of a fairly unclear thing that could be mistaken for a other sort of reason for there being a sort of in a dissimilarity in a person's foot patterns when they're walking or whatever, or it could entirely be just like in this scenario, an entirely superficial detail of one of the sandals. Not that there's anything. I mean, my other limp is a little bit cooler than my broken sandal limp, but whatever. Limp, it's funny. A word with two meanings. Lovely out here. I'm looking for where to make an electrical connection, where to make an electrical, or to source some electricity. I don't see any places anywhere at the moment. That's awesome. So I'm thinking about going and mastering some drum beats a little bit better today. Maybe blow some glass after that if I can round up the equipment to do so. Got some other chores to do here this morning. Lovely. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. So I've heard that these things are former ballasts inside of ships. I heard that they're carved in those specific shapes in that specific way to fit in the very bottom of like the hull of a large ship to like weight it properly. And they're so large, cumbersome, and difficult to move with regard to having a purpose for them, let alone just for any other sort of reason that they end up sitting like in some sort of area wherever they were brought to for whatever reason, because I guess they're not of much use in their post-ballast existence. And I could be entirely wrong. It's not something that someone like that was like someone or think of as like it was just kind of like a friend to friend sort of conversation about random like history stuff, and they said that that's what they believe those things to be that they had heard that they are, and it makes sense in some way. They do kind of have like a sort of, it's like, I don't know, there's like there's any number of things they could be, I guess, but that they may have originated as ballast seems plausible. It's an interesting thing, actually. It's probably something that's hard to look up per se, because it's like, how do you describe what it is? Like large granite, like chunky, coarsely carved blocks or something, and then it's like whoa, that's cool. Marin Country Day School? Country Day School. A school bus. That looks legit. Oh, that's an old school one. An old school bus. Sorry. Griping and moaning in the background of his own live stream. Calvarella takes no discretionary shame prohibited necessary breaks from the microphone and muting it, and streams it all live on his own channel. On Google, or excuse me, on YouTube. Is this the bike entrance to the Presidio? Presidio of San Francisco, established 1776. Whittemire. Presidio landmark to the left. Bells Street, Hayes Street, Wyman Avenue.